Alrighty, so we're going to be taking a look at the first rune glass setup here that I put together. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for a little bit longer now, you're fully aware that this rapier fire staff build here is my pride and joy. It is my favorite build to run, without a doubt. And it was already a very strong build. I even put together the whole rune glass set on the PTR and gave it a shot. There wasn't any PvP going on, so I didn't get a chance to test it in PvP. But I did test it in PvE. Now, we didn't have the full suite of changes that we had at the time when I tested this. And with everybody taking as much more damage as we are now, before I even put these gems in, I already felt like we were doing more damage than last patch. But yeah, it's crazy. So we're going to take a deeper look, and I'll kind of go over exactly what gems I chose and what what is doing for our build. But we have a bit of a PvP commentary in the background here. We played one of our first OPRs, and as you can see, we are in the back of the map here, kind of brawling it out with a couple of archers. And as you saw there, we put in just an insane amount of damage on that first player. I don't manage to get out of the way in time of that parry, but in that little skirmish there, we end up just trading back so much damage within that little evade reset. We were able to put in our light attacks way more cleaner than our target was here. We do manage to avoid the riposte that time, but as I go in for the kill, you see that Sacred on the ground. He does get some reinforcements from the enemy team, and I am out of stamina and very low in health, so I have to go ahead and make a retreat back to these trees and see if I can go ahead and regenerate a little bit of health. All my potions are down right now, and you see we're still taking shots from some form of line of sight here. But I do manage to regenerate a little bit of health, and we try to turn the offensive back on. We're going to go ahead and keep repositioning. As you saw, I saw some people kind of flanking towards my left side. So we just use that burnout to reposition ourselves so that we don't get surrounded. I have to do some testing with parry, but parry functions very differently now. So that parry to parry interaction, you can actually go for a parry. But after making a little bit of disengage and getting some help there, we throw in the fireball to get the finish. And with our teammate on this bowman here, I find a little bit of time to find some breathing room for myself, and then we switch the aggression back onto this player. I do run myself out of stamina trying to chase him down there, but we get the burnout, find him on the tree there, dodge the parry, end up getting blocked by the tree here, but you're gonna see here in a second, just one evade reset. We did literally 60 to 70% of his health, and then we're able to finish it out there with another light attack, and then we go ahead and switch back to the target that our teammate is fighting. And I want to go ahead and see if I can chase down this kill for a second time now, as we did manage to get him separated from the healer, it does seem like. But yeah, I'm just having way too much fun. If you're on stream last night, you guys saw just how much fun this build is right now. But we managed to land the flesh there to prevent him from entering the outpost. But right as I do and I turn around, there's another full respawn wave there. I try to see if I can throw in some heavy attacks to find the kill before the healer can finish him out there. But he does manage to escape, and I'm kind of forced to, again, disengage and kind of wait for my opening to go for a kill here, because respawn waves are not what we want to push into. We're doing a good job of avoiding a lot of the musket fire. One of the things I've been missing is the mobility that this build has, being that we've been running Rapier Greatsword this entire time. But a lot of the reinforcements seem to have pushed into the point, and I find myself here with just a couple of Dex players. So we go ahead and put in the little bit of footwork there and try to do as good a job as we can to not take too much fire here. And I'm going to go ahead and use some of this tree and debris here as line of sight. Line of sight is massive, especially when fighting ranged builds. Just not only keeping yourself alive, but forcing them in a position that makes it a little bit easier to fight. As you can see here, we kind of pull them into melee range because it's a harder shot for them to make from the road to try to shoot past these trees. But I know these guys are probably, a lot of them are wearing PvE gear for Brimstone, but literally, I think, one full auto attack animation into a heavy attack, and we literally 100% to zero that one guy, and we were able to put in the riposte there and find the final kill there. Now I believe I mentioned what route we would be going for with the gems here, especially considering we were running a rapier fire staff build. The ignited route would be the one that we would go for this build, and we went for the 2% additional fire damage on all of our gear pieces. So right off the bat, we are just getting 10% fire damage overall. So for our fire staff, our light attacks, heavy attacks, and all of our abilities and everything, we're just straight up getting a 10% buff to all of that. But where these rune glass gems were actually very, very interesting is with our rapier and our physical damage. Now, prior to using these, we were running obviously tier 5 gems where our damage was being converted evenly between elemental and physical. Now, if you haven't taken a look, these new gems, when you put them in your weapon, actually convert to 40% instead of 50% like the tier 5 gems we already have do. And now what ends up happening is we end up getting 10% more physical damage on our rapier because now less of it is being converted, but that 40% that is being converted into fire now is also being buffed by that 10% overall from these other gems. So we end up doing way more than just 10% more damage. And then the dots, the actual dots that these things apply, you guys saw in the little initial commentary there in OPR, but and I'm sure some of those players were not fully spec for PvP, because I definitely noticed that some players were taking less fire damage than others. So I think that a lot of people are spec for just Brimstone and like that dungeon right now, but I have been fighting just people who are spec for PvP, and just the amount of damage we do on the build is like ridiculous. I'm kind of scared to test out my ice setup because that is the more chunkier version. It is the chunkier but less fast version of this build. So if this build is doing this much damage right now, I can't imagine what my ice setup is going to be feeling like. If you want to put together the ice setup for yourself, it's going to be the exact same thing as this, but just instead of the fire damage, you want to get the ice gems, and then obviously the ice damage for the weapons here. But yeah, the difference was 100% noticeable immediately, and this build went from feeling like we had to work for our damage to there's like almost too much damage. And I know obviously light armor is taking more damage, everything is doing more damage in general, but as I mentioned, we fought heavy armor, we fought medium armor, and it's just a lot of extra damage. So yeah, that's what the gems look like if you want to go for them yourself. But yeah, it is a very, very scary time right now for PvP because everybody is just doing so much more damage. But I honestly think I prefer this. I prefer where everybody is just bursting each other versus the nobody dies meta. And it's actually interesting how a lot of MMOs kind of go through these swings. But we have a little bit more commentary here. We have a great axe and a blunderbuss user. Where being that he's by himself, we can do a easier job of spacing and timing and not getting blown up too hard by the blunderbuss. But you see, we are still able to put in a respectable amount of damage even while trying to avoid that blunderbuss there. But as soon as I see that healer, I want to go ahead and switch my attention over to her. And yeah, light healers now are just their lunch. It's crazy. You can literally see how fast they're she perched on one sacred. We chased her out of it, and then we were able to finish her out. But this here is the fight that I really wanted to go ahead and have. We've been running light melee this entire time, and this is the fight that I knew was going to be super oppressive. You see, we land the parry off of the steadfast strike there, and we're essentially just able to dance around this target. Light melee versus heavy bruiser obviously is a very tough fight, but we can literally just dance around heavy and medium armor targets in this build as we put in the blade work with the rapier and take out that final target there. But yeah, I was already just overall excited for this patch in PvP and Buildcraft in general because we have a new weapon, and PvP overall just felt so different. But these Rune Glass gems really shake things up a lot. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.